This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A Manitoba expert with decades of experience researching hazing in sports says he isn't surprised by alleged hazing incidents that have led to arrests for sexual assault. On Monday, Mounties arrested 3 17-year-old boys from a southern Manitoba hockey team. But as the CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports, an expert says there is progress on the issue.
Jay Johnson with the University of Manitoba has been studying hazing for over 25 years. He says he isn't surprised it still happens in sports. RCMP arrested 3 17-year-old male hockey players in southern Manitoba in connection to allegations of hazing. Johnson says this case shows the culture around hazing is changing.
It feels like we're at a time and place where people do feel a little bit more comfortable coming forward and sharing what's going on.
RCMP say 1 teen was arrested for assault and sexual assault. The 2 others for sexual assault with a weapon, and forcible confinement. Mounties say the accused and 5 victims were on the same team. The victims are 15 and 16-year-old rookies. The alleged incidents happened at a Winnipeg hotel in November and January. Johnson says it will take diligence and transparency to put an end to hazing in sports.
I do want to put out that call that coaches need to be more directly involved with this too, instead of simply turning a blind eye. And that's not to paint all coaches with that brush, because some coaches are doing really progressive things.
Sport Manitoba Coaching says online respect in sport training that addresses hazing is mandatory for coaches with their organization. The province also made it a requirement for coaches of K-12 students in 2022. Still, in light of these recent allegations, Susan Lambu with Sport Manitoba Coaching says they'll look to close any gaps.
Coaching is one thing. I think it kind of has to have that multifaceted approach, and maybe we need to do more on, kind of working with the athletes and working with parents.
RCMP say they expect charges to be laid against the teens involved by their next court appearance. That's scheduled for June 10th. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A warning now ahead of our next story. It deals with the topic of suicide. It might be difficult for some of our viewers. Friends and colleagues of a Winnipeg firefighter hope his death will create change. Earlier this month, 40-year-old Preston Heinbigner died by suicide. Those who knew him say he was deeply affected by what he witnessed daily. Preston was a husband and father. His co-workers say he was special and a pillar in the community. Ken Guerin worked with him and considered him to be one of his best friends.
Preston was pretty much Matthew McConaughey, is how exactly what I describe him. He was charismatic, highly intelligent. He made everything look easy. Work was easy, life was easy. There was nothing difficult for the guy. Like I said, he was the type of guy that if he was in the room, everyone was paying attention. What does Preston have to say? And everyone was drawn to him. Like, I've been here my whole life in Winnipeg. He's moved here from Saskatchewan, and he has 10 times more friends than I do already, right? So that's the type of guy Preston was.
His passing has sent shockwaves across the firefighting community. Dale Gagne and his colleagues are fighting to have his passing considered a line of duty death, which is usually reserved for members who die while on the job. As well as fires, crews respond to traumatic scenes, car crashes, and violent incidents. They say Preston's death is a call to action and shows the need for more mental health supports for first responders and those who are struggling to reach out for help.
The firefighting community has been banding together to try and prevent this from happening in the future, right? We need to check in with each other more. We need to be there for each other more, and that's what Preston did, and that's what Preston would want for the future.
The Firefighter Union says it's also pushing for the death of duty designation. It says there is a precedent and it has happened in other jurisdictions. Firefighters say the last few years have taken a major toll and the weight is hard to bear. With the opioid crisis and increase in overdose deaths, the calls for service are changing. We'll have more from Preston's colleagues on those impacts a little later in the show. Now, stories like these can be upsetting. If you or someone you know is struggling, there is help. You can dial 988 from any phone in Canada to reach the Suicide Crisis Helpline, or go to 988.ca. The provincial government is promising more transparency for victims of criminal wrongdoing in the healthcare system. Today, it introduced a bill that could force governing bodies to hold a public hearing when considering the cancellation of a healthcare professional's license. For more, we're joined by the CBC's Ian Fraze. And Ian, why is the government doing this?
Yeah, Health Minister Ozoma Asseguera has heard enough of these heartbreaking stories where victims are dismayed that regulatory bodies can decide on a medical professional's future behind closed doors. Asseguera promised these changes last year after the Winnipeg Free Press reported that Dr. Arsel Bissonnette, convicted of sexual assault, had his license canceled in private. The government's bill would make similar hearings public. Here's Asseguera.
We've heard from survivors that transparency helps to rebuild trust. Healthcare providers, doctors across the board have a sacred responsibility to patients, and they have an inherent trust that patients place to them, with them, in receiving care. And when that trust is broken, it's so important that governments, that colleges, that regulatory bodies do their part to restore that trust.
This doesn't mean all hearings where a medical professional could lose their license will be public. This will only happen when a member is convicted of a crime and that offense impacts their suitability to do their job. There are a few exceptions.
Now, meanwhile, 4 government bills were delayed today. Why is that happening, Ian?
The official opposition has the right every spring to delay up to 5 bills until the fall. Here's what the Tories are holding up. Bill 7 lets public entities, if they choose, to only allow unionized workers on infrastructure projects. Bill 16 repeals a PC law to eliminate red tape. The NDP says all that did was create unnecessary work. Bill 21 lowers the compulsory school age from 7 to 6. The PCs want more consultation first on that. And Bill 9, also being delayed, it extends unpaid leave for serious injury or illness from 17 weeks to 27 weeks. Again, the PCs say more discussion is needed. What the PCs are basically doing here is delaying the inevitable. The NDP with a majority government can still pass all these bills. They'll just have to wait till the fall. Brittany.
All right, thanks, Ian. Ian Fraze live in the newsroom this evening. Manitoba's prenatal benefit is doubling. Families Minister Nahani Fontaine says pregnant women will now be eligible for up to $160 a month. Additional funding for the program, which helps lower-income families, was announced in the provincial budget released earlier this month. Fontaine says the money will help pregnant women buy healthy food. She says it's a benefit she used years ago when she was a student.
I remember being so worried about that I had no more money in the bank account. And sure enough, I get home and then in my mailbox is my prenatal benefit. And so it helped me in my first pregnancy to ensure that I had the nutrition that I needed to be able to be healthy for my pregnancy.
Fontaine hopes the increased amount will be available in the next couple months. The Salvation Army has opened a new pop-up shelter in downtown Winnipeg. It will have 80 beds and be open until the fall. The organization says it will help with an increase of refugee claimants looking for somewhere to stay. About 30 people are using the space right now, but it's expected to be at full capacity in the coming weeks. The new shelter is staffed around the clock, and people will have access to caseworker resources and 3 meals a day. A school bus operator in Manitoba is accused of driving drunk with children on board. Manitoba First Nations police say the 58-year-old man was stopped and arrested in Waiwasi-Capo on Monday. They were called around 9:30 in the morning about a possible impaired driver. Police say breath samples showed readings double the legal limit. Police wouldn't say how many children were on the bus at the time. A long-running battle over a pile of rubble in the West End has reached a turning point. Residents have been calling for someone to do something about a burned-down apartment building that's been left for years. As CBC's Cameron McLean reports, the city has decided it will clean up the pile that residents have dubbed Sherbrooke Mountain.
2 years ago, a fire destroyed this apartment building at 694 Sherbrooke Street. Since then, this pile of rubble has sat here while a dispute between the city, the property owner, and the credit union that holds the mortgage drags on. Now the city has issued a request for contractors to clear away the debris. That comes as a relief to residents like Cheryl Martins.
We've kept on trying to keep it in the public mind in terms of the city, and they've been really responsive. They've always responded in respectful ways. They've said, yes, you have a right to be upset about this. It's been, 112 weeks that it's been like this where something could have been done. So we're just really pleased.
The fire broke out on Valentine's Day 2022. The property was demolished and the city ordered the owner to clean it up. But the numbered company registered as the owner claimed it no longer had anything to do with the property. Martin says the ordeal has been devastating to the community.
My feeling is that it's really demoralizing. You feel like nobody cares about where you live. And the other thing is, you can see that people have started, dumping garbage into it.
This isn't the only demolished property that has sat for a long time. An appeal hearing is set for next week on a cleanup order of the former Vulcan Ironworks building in Point Douglas, the scene of multiple fires in the past year. And Martins has pushed the city to clean up other properties in the West End. Area Councillor Cindy Gilroy wants the city to come up with a plan to deal with the rubble.
The challenge that we're going to start to see is sometimes with the cost more than the actual property is worth, right? So then do people start walking away? And I think that's the fear of the city.
Work on cleaning up the Sherbrooke rubble is expected to start in June. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Passing on a language to the next generation. Lillian Travers nearly lost touch with her first language of Anishinaabe-Moan. Now she's teaching it in Ashern Early Years School. Half the students are First Nation or Métis. CBC's Bryce Hoy visited Ashern as part of our Communities in Focus series and brings us this story.
Young students at this school in Manitoba's Interlake are about to get a crash course in Indigenous language. Hi everyone, what are we here to learn about today? Anishinaabe. Amazing.
Nashaswe, Sangaswe, Nadaswe. Yeah, now we can start. I've been speaking it most of my life. I heard it through my grandparents. My mother spoke it to me. When I was young, that's all I spoke was Anishinaabe-Moan. But growing up, it kind of went away from me, and not many of my peers were speaking it. So I kind of wanted to bring it into my family.
What just happened?
I won.
You got bingo?
Bingo!
What was the winning word?
Bingo! Nanan.
What does nanan mean?
5.
What do you think your parents, your grandparents would think that you're getting to learn this language in the school?
Happy.
Why happy?
Because they want me to know this when I turn older.
How do you say the number 5?
Nanan.
Nanan.
50% of our students identify either as First Nation or Métis. So by doing this, it brings a connection to their past language, their past culture, their heritage. And when you look at Ashern and the location where it is, geographically, we're surrounded by those people of that culture in our communities. This is where we've immigrated to. So we're learning about our heritage where we moved to.
Next number in Anishinaabe-Moan is Bejik.
My favorite part about this is we're learning it while we're having fun.
So you're learning and you're helping to pass it on. How do you feel about that, getting to do that in the school with your friends?
I feel happy about it.
Why?
I feel proud.
You feel happy and proud? Why?
Because it shouldn't be forgotten.
And what do you think about learning a language like this? Do you like it?
Yeah, a lot.
What do you like about it?
I like how usually in English it's like
Like in this language, like there's a lot of sh in the words, but it's not SH, it's actually ZH. It's pretty interesting.
Working here, giving the opportunity to work in this school system is like so rewarding for me to teach it, you know, because it's dying out, but to bring it back and keep it going is something that, you know, that's amazing. With Truth and Reconciliation is really good that it's being acknowledged too, like throughout Turtle Island.
What we see here with a language program that focuses on an Indigenous local language is that ability for all of our students to be able to understand that way of looking at the world, understanding the world, and coming together and communicating. And so there's an incredible power to that. And we also see a push across the province right now for looking at the importance of Indigenous ways of knowing and being. And so I think that's another key piece to this program.
You just have to cover your 4 corners.
Yeah, I really want.
Brandon is closely watching the Assiniboine River this week. A flood warning was issued last week for the Assiniboine between the city and the Shelmouth Dam. Upwards of up to 40 millimeters of precipitation is expected this week, on top of the normal spring runoff. And as water continues to rise, the city says it's ready to respond. It's warning people to stay away from the river. Weather specialist Riley Laychuk joins me at the desk now. And Riley, we have some communities like Brandon worrying about floods, others that are dealing with digging out.
Yes, significant amount of snow, Brittany, headed to parts of northern Manitoba. Yes, we still have snowfall warnings in place now for a good chunk of northern Manitoba, looking at where that expands to now, including the Gillam, Island Lake region, as well as Shamattawa, and areas back to the east as well, including Thompson, Norway House, Lynn Lake, Flin Flon, the Paw. Expecting up to 30 centimeters of snow by the time we reach Friday, and we'll kind of time this out as this precipitation continues to move through. But just in comparison, back to the east, areas in northeastern Saskatchewan already getting about between 14 and about 30 centimeters of snow. So yes, the forecast modeling and the forecasts have definitely come to fruition in Saskatchewan, at least, as we wait for that to kind of circle its way back to the east here. You can see this area of low pressure here already starting to bring a little bit of precipitation to parts of western Manitoba, but this is the Colorado low that brought rain to us, now impacting parts of northwestern Ontario. And if we take a bit of a closer look at what is happening in the western part of Manitoba, yes, already some rain, some mixing and some snow through the Parkland region and up into the Duck Mountain region around Swan River. That will continue as we get into the evening hours tonight. Yes, by the time we start the morning hours, into some light snow in the Winnipeg region. Still dealing with quite a bit of snow through parts of northern and even into central Manitoba through into the morning hours tomorrow. That continues to wrap its way around. So sort of on and off, either wet flurries or rain showers, really temperature dependent across southern Manitoba through the day on Thursday. Into Friday, better chance of some flurries scattered in nature across southern Manitoba, but still contending with that precipitation, even as it continues to move off into northwestern Ontario, and still, even by the supper hour, some lingering flurries as we get into the day on Saturday. That's when we start to see our skies clearing out and more of a return to spring. So looking at snowfall precipitation projections here for southern Manitoba, yes, looking in the Red River Valley, a trace to a couple centimeters, pretty fair bet, albeit some of this temperature dependent will be melting on contact, so don't expect to see, 2 or 3 centimeters on the ground. A lot of this will be melting, but yes, expecting some higher accumulations back to the west through the Parkland region. So in northern Manitoba, another 10 to 15 centimeters to come. I think this model run is still a little bit on the high side, but it will be the winds that we contend with here in the south as well as we get through tomorrow. Looking at winds, even at the lunch hour, 30 gusting to 50. 8 degrees in Winnipeg right now. Mainly cloudy sky. We're looking at a low down to -1. Periods of rain and some light snow starting through the overnight hours, getting into the morning. +1, west winds gust to 40, and we're looking at high on the freezing mark tomorrow. So we're looking at some wet snow, some rain continuing through Friday. But Brittany, we're looking at some warmer temperatures as we get into the early part of next week.
All right, Riley, we'll be back with your dog walking forecast,
Yes.
what those puppers could expect in just a little bit. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
It was a plot right out of the movies. $20 million in gold bars vanishes from an airplane hangar at Toronto's Pearson Airport. Now, police say it was an inside job. Ali Shiason has more on Project 24 Carat.
You're watching $20 million in gold bars getting stolen, and it wasn't all that hard to pull off.
The suspect arrived at Air Canada Cargo driving a 5-ton truck. The suspect was carrying a fraudulent airway bill as he approached the warehouse.
The forged papers were printed at the Air Canada Cargo hangar by an Air Canada employee.
A short time later, a forklift arrived with a container of gold and foreign currency and loaded it into the rear of the suspect's truck. The suspect then drives away.
It wasn't until Brinks Canada arrived later that evening to pick up the bullion that warehouse workers realized the gold was gone, and so Project 24 Carat was launched. First, investigators tracked the truck's path. Soon, they were conducting search warrants, interviewing people, and arresting 5 suspects along the way, including
Parmpal Sidhu, a 54-year-old man from Brampton and an Air Canada employee.
The other Air Canada employee allegedly involved is wanted on a Canada-wide arrest warrant with 2 others. Police say Simranpreet Panesar was the manager of the Air Canada cargo hangar where the gold was stolen from.
He has been known to us since early on in the investigation. He actually led a tour for Peel Regional Police before we knew his involvement.
You're probably expecting to see a pile of gold bricks. I know we were when we got to the press conference, but really the only evidence that remains of this heist at this police warehouse is the truck that was used, and it's completely empty. You see, this isn't about the gold. That was melted down a long time ago. A Toronto jeweler is among the arrested. Police say some of the gold was made into crude bracelets. More than $89,000 worth of those have been recovered by investigators. The rest of the loot was sold, and the money used to purchase and traffic guns. Remember the driver? While allegedly on the run, he was pulled over in Pennsylvania for a traffic violation last September. He was arrested after police discovered 65 guns in his car. They say were destined to be trafficked in Canada.
Those 65 firearms, definitely not in the hands of somebody, saved lives, without a doubt. So it's not just the theft of cargo. This is a dotted line to people's well-being anywhere in this country, wherever those firearms ended up.
While the Swiss bank the gold belonged to considers the case closed, Project 24 Carat continues. Canada-wide arrest warrants are out for 3 more suspects, including the former Air Canada warehouse manager. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
The Liberals and Conservatives today held their first caucus meeting since the budget was unveiled. The Prime Minister used the session to give a pep talk to his MPs. He defended the decision to boost the capital gains tax on Canada's wealthiest citizens.
We don't think it's fair that a teacher or electrician pays taxes on 100% of their income, while a multimillionaire pays taxes only on 50% of the passive income they make on capital gains. So we're going to make them pay a little more.
The Conservatives focused on what they see as the flaws in the Liberals' housing plan, calling it the same as previous efforts that haven't worked. They say the government spending will just make it more expensive to get homes built. This year's budget laid out the groundwork for the Canada Disability Benefit. It was pitched as a program that would lift hundreds of thousands of people with disabilities out of poverty. But advocates say the funding is far from what's needed. Marina von Stackelberg has this report from Ottawa.
Michelle Hewitt came to Ottawa ready to hear how a new federal program would lift Canadians with disabilities out of poverty. Instead,
disappointment, frustration, too little to too few.
Disability advocates like her found out in this week's budget the maximum amount a person will receive under the new Canada Disability Benefit is just $200 a month.
Disability in Canada should not mean poverty, and at the moment, for far too many people, it does.
Much of that frustration today is over the promise the federal government made.
The Canada Disability Benefit has the potential to lift hundreds of thousands of Canadians, working-age Canadians with disabilities, out of poverty.
This Toronto Food Bank head says what is needed to do that is $10 billion a year. Instead, Ottawa will spend $1 billion.
We recognize that the government's under a fiscal challenge. That's a reality that we as Canadians need to address. I would say it is much more expensive, however, not to address poverty. If you do not address poverty, it's incredibly expensive on the healthcare system and on the judicial system and on the individuals themselves.
Today, no promise on whether the federal government would increase the benefit amount.
This benefit is a major milestone, a stepping stone. We did not have a Canada Disability Benefit, statutory benefit that existed. It's our government that put it in place. There's way more to do.
Ottawa has set aside $40 million a year to pay doctors to fill out the forms someone needs to qualify for the benefit. But advocates say that's just another barrier, especially when many people with disabilities have already had a doctor fill out paperwork so they can qualify for provincial programs.
They feel anger. They feel that we have all worked so hard giving the government our feedback on this over the last 3, almost 4 years now, and that we haven't been heard.
She says they'll keep fighting until they are. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Coming up after the break, we'll hear more from 2 Winnipeg first responders who are calling for better mental health supports after the loss of a colleague to suicide. Stay with us. As you heard earlier in the program, Winnipeg firefighters are mourning the loss of their friend and colleague, who they say died by suicide earlier this month. They want Preston Heinbigner's passing to be designated as a line of duty death, and they're calling for better mental health supports for first responders. CBC's Marcy Marcusa spoke to two of his colleagues this morning on Information Radio. She asked about the stigma around seeking mental health support for first responders.
We're supposed to be strong, right? All of us go on the calls, and we go to help people. So it's not in our nature to seek help, right? We're the ones doing the helping. And so when somebody is struggling, it is a bit of a hurdle to be forthright and say, yeah, you know, I'm not okay. And I think Preston tried to do that, but he wasn't really comfortable in being completely honest, which is the sad part, right? We loved him so much. And the fact that he felt that he couldn't be forward and be honest with his tight friends, never mind, you know, the job, is really a tragedy. And moving forward, we need to take steps in changing that and making sure that, you know, because there are a lot of people struggling. Preston wasn't the only one. So these people need to know that, you know, if somebody comes forward, that they'll have their backs. There's no, you know, there's nobody that's going to judge or criticize.
What do you want people to understand in the context of Preston's death about what it's like to do this job?
Well, for Preston specifically, I got the opportunity to work together with Preston on the same truck for the last 4 years. We're stationed together at one station downtown, and it's no secret suicide rates are up, and we're dealing with that constantly, and the drug use, etc. You know, I think that's a problem worldwide, not just Winnipeg specifically, but for Preston, he was the type of guy that he cared about everybody so much, even people he didn't know, he wanted them to get better. So I think that these calls they just took a toll on him, and I know they did because he told me. And he's just having a hard time. He truly wanted everyone to be better. And meeting his parents, they're from Saskatchewan, so we got to meet the parents recently too, and you can completely seeing their stories that they've been sharing with Preston for the last 20 years.
Did he carry the people that he tended to on shift with him? Did he carry all of that, and then were the problems increasing? Yeah, it just piled up on him, and it's kind of like a boiling pot of water where he just couldn't keep that lid on anymore. And we never saw the passing coming. We would never think that, because Preston was the type of guy that just carried it well. He would never let you know. What is the reality for you guys out there right now, and some of the things that you see, Dale?
Well, the drug use has increased. Like, the calls in the last 5 years have changed. The opioid epidemic, the drug use, the violence, it's we call it a war zone. It is like that. We go on shift, and you do call after call after call where you see things that are not natural. And
like what? Can you give us an example that's going to be radio appropriate? And this is in the context of understanding that you're there to help people. This is not to stigmatize the people that have problems. But when we're trying to understand the kinds of things that you're seeing a lot more of, and I mean
specifically, the suicide rates are high, so we do deal with a lot of suicides. Yeah. And then overdoses, right? You go on scene, the person is either on the cusp of death or, just very close. We have to bring them back. And to do that multiple times per shift, it weighs on you.
Multiple times per shift, you're either there when someone's dying, or you're trying to save
4 or 5 times a day. That used to be like when you first started, it was 4 or 5 times, maybe a year, and now it's consistent. It's consistent across the board. I'm not an expert. I don't know what's happening. I can't touch on it. I don't know how to make things better. But reality right now is that's what's happening to us. So.
That would have been Preston's reality as well. You said you were in the same truck for 4 years with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you want the public to take away from you coming out this morning and remembering your friend and fighting for the supports moving forward? What message do you want to leave people with today, Dele?
The message is we cannot have Preston's death be in vain. That's why we're here today. He cannot have died for nothing, because we need changes. We need more support. We need more mental health resources. What we have in place is a good start, but so many changes need to happen from the top down.
Again, if you or someone you know is struggling, there is help. You can dial 988 from any phone in Canada to reach the Suicide Crisis Helpline, or go to 988.ca. He's now banned for life. The NBA deals a severe blow to Toronto Raptors forward Jonte Porter after a probe found him guilty of violating the league's gambling rules. More on that story when we return after the break. Toronto Raptors forward Jonte Porter has been banned for life from the NBA for gambling. The NBA launched the investigation after becoming aware of unusual gambling patterns surrounding his performance in a game last month. The league determined Porter had given one bettor information about his own health status prior to the game. Another bettor with access to that information placed an $80,000 bet that Porter wouldn't hit the stats set for him in parlays through an online sportsbook. Porter took himself out of that game after less than 3 minutes, claiming illness. The investigation revealed he placed at least 13 bets on NBA games using an associate's online account. The NBA says the investigation remains open and it's sharing information with federal authorities. Riley's back now. And Riley, all week you've been talking to us about a couple systems that have been moving through Manitoba. And I like to think that maybe this is Mother Nature's way of bringing us good luck heading into the playoffs. A little bit of a whiteout for us in some parts of the province, right? We're going to put a good spin on it.
Yeah, you know what, Brittany? Yes, we will see a little bit of whiteout. I don't want to say whiteout conditions, but some of the white stuff, I guess, here in the south as well as we head into the next couple of days, which might hamper your dog walk tomorrow morning. Having a look at that dog walking forecast, yes, we are looking at some wet snow starting. I'm not talking about a steady snow by any means, but certainly some periods of some wet snow, some wet flurries, and some rain through the day tomorrow. And really staying around that freezing mark, we'll actually hit our high of 2 early on in the day, and by about the 4 o'clock hour, dropping back down to freezing. This is Eddie and Josie, courtesy of Kathy, back when we did have a little bit more snow on the ground here in Manitoba. It doesn't look like it's going to get that white here in the south, but certainly we could see a dusting over the next couple of days for sure. Send me your photos to talkback at cbc.ca, whether it's your pets or whether you want to share what it looks like in your backyard. I'd love to see what your part of the province looks like. Speaking of precipitation, quick look at some of the numbers from yesterday from Coco spotters. 10 millimeters of rain yesterday in Headingley. The downtown St. James area getting right around that forecast amount of 15 millimeters and a little bit more back to the eastern side of the city. We did see a little bit more of that through the Brandon region as well, where we did see more of a steadier rain through the day over the past couple of days with 20 millimeters as of this morning and 15 millimeters or so in the Argyle region. So looking at daytime highs today, a bit cooler than normal for this time of the year. Just getting up to 5 in Brandon. Winkler getting up to the 10-degree mark this afternoon. Only reaching 8. I thought we had a shot at 10 here in Winnipeg, but yes, we did not get much in the way of sun today, so that kind of helped keep the temperature a bit on the cool side. Tonight's lows right around the freezing mark. We'll start to see some of that snow spreading into the Parkland region, back down to the south and to the east as we get into the day tomorrow. For the north, 2 to 4 centimeters of snow for the northwest. Thompson, Norway House, Gillam looking at 5 to 10, and the Island Lake region 2 to 4 centimeters coming tonight. Temperatures around that -5 to -8 mark. Through the day tomorrow, a little more snow coming in the way of 2 to 4 centimeters for Flin Flon, Lynn Lake and region, and up to 10 centimeters yet to come through the northeastern part of Manitoba. Temperatures by the afternoon hanging around the freezing mark, -1 tomorrow in Thompson. Through the day tomorrow, some on and off waves of snow here in southern Manitoba. By the 4 o'clock hour, looking at temperatures of 2 in Brandon, 0 in Winnipeg, and a mix of rain and snow, Brittany, into northwestern Ontario.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Following her dream, she stepped away from a sport she loved after having her son. Now, 2 decades after she first started in Muay Thai, Amber Berg is on her way to a championship. We'll have more on how one Winnipegger went from throwing in the towel to the professional stage. Stay with us. For Winnipegger Amber Berg, Muay Thai kickboxing is more than just a sport to her. It's a way of life. Also known as the White Tiger, she's competing for the bantamweight title in the sport's biggest championship, the Muay Thai World Cup in Calgary this weekend. CBC's Jim Agapito met up with her while she was training at Double Dragon Kickboxing Gym here in Winnipeg.
I'm outside the Double Dragon Muay Thai gym in Winnipeg to meet a Muay Thai boxer who's putting it all on the line this weekend. Let's meet her.
Amber Berg from Double Dragon Kickboxing and Muay Thai. This is the beginning of fight week. On Saturday, I'll be competing for the WBC Muay Thai bantamweight title. It's a professional fight, and it's out in Calgary, and I'm pretty excited. This is the biggest title I could be competing for in Canada right now. Well, I just always sort of knew I wanted to do it. It was always in the back of my head, something I was driven to try out. I feel like it's kind of a tool to reach your maximum human potential. You just learn so much about yourself every time you come to train, every time you come to compete. There's nothing else like it for me, the experience of being in the ring. Me and my mom, we saw Double Dragon do an exhibition one day when I was about 18, a little bit before that, and we just really liked it. We saw some women in there fighting, and so there was a coupon to come down. So we used it. It was on the back of the pamphlet. And yeah, we came down, we gave it a try. I got to train with my mom, and yeah, I just stuck with it ever since.
Yeah, my name is Jarek Hodge. I'm the founder and the chief instructor of Double Dragon Kickboxing in Winnipeg. Amber's been with me for over 20 years. I used to teach her mom, and I actually used to babysit Amber back in the days. And she decided to do kickboxing, and the rest is history. She has a bunch of titles already from Texas. She's the North American champion, Texas twice, intercontinental champion. So she's been there. She knows what she's doing. I always tell my fighters, stay focused. My big thing is loyalty. You got to be loyal to your coach and your training camp. Be true to yourself, and I will see right through you. And if I said I'm going to make you a champion, I will make you a champion, because I know what it takes to make that individual a champion.
My coach is a big help, you know. He's always on me, making sure I'm mentally strong and telling me not to sabotage myself. And he just says, think like a champion, train like a champion, and you'll be a champion. One really big thing is I want to bring it back for my gym. I want to win it for my coach and for my gym, for everything they've put into me and all the support they've given to me, and because they all believe in me. I've put so many years into it. It's been a lifelong journey, and so it would just feel so good to have that award at the end.
Well, this is the force. She will be like a pioneer, the force, female and Canadian and Manitoban to go for the WBC championship. Not boxing, Muay Thai. So it's a big deal for me, it's a big deal for the country, it's a big deal for the province. And for the females out there, go for it all the way. Don't let nobody tell you different. You can't do it. Our last fight, the interviewer asked her about who's the person she's fighting. She said some girl from Winnipeg. So we're gonna make sure when we left there, she's gonna remember her name. Amber, the White Tiger Bird.
So the match happens this Saturday in Calgary. For more information, go to MuayThaiWorldCup.com. For CBC News, I'm Jim Agapito from Winnipeg.
True North says Whiteout Party tickets for both games 1 and 2 sold out within an hour of going on sale this morning. The Jets will have home ice advantage in their first round playoff series with the Colorado Avalanche. Riley is back with your last check on the forecast next.
When it comes to your news, you want up-to-the-minute access. Anytime, anywhere. Get the facts straight from the source. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca for news you can trust.
Well, could see a few wet flurries or some rain showers as we head through the day tomorrow in Winnipeg. 1 degree first thing in the morning. West winds gusting to 40, increasing to 30, gusting to 50 as we head through the afternoon. Looking at a high of 2 degrees by noon, dropping back to the freezing mark by 4. And yes, we're looking at, like I said earlier, not a steady rain or snow, but periods of some wet flurries or some rain showers on and off through tomorrow. 1 degree for Friday with a few scattered flurries. 7 for Saturday, and then we're heading back into spring with 13 degrees on the way for Sunday, 12 for Monday, and up to 16 degrees on the way for next Wednesday. Well, a Métis community northeast of Edmonton is celebrating a historic event, the release of a rehabilitated young golden eagle.
Dozens of community members gathered to see Tina released back into the wild after being found injured last fall.
Tina's release is tonight's Daily Lift.
It was a very special moment because in our culture, the Woodland Cree, we believe the eagle is the highest flying winged one. We call them the winged ones. We believe they can go right to the Creator. When we pray to the eagle, they take our prayers right directly to Creator, to God. And that's why we honor it. The release of the eagle, it made me feel honored. It brought comfort. Felt like it brought me blessings today. Not only to be able to talk about it, to share the prayer, but more importantly, to feel it physically inside on my arms. The best way I could describe it is it's a feeling of content.
The Fish and Wildlife Division actually picked her up. She was fairly docile. She was underweight. She had a heavy parasite load, so we looked after the parasite load and had force feed her for a little while, and then she picked up. And with a bird like that, where it's a young bird, hasn't had a lot of experience, a lot of times they just need to mature a little bit. It was really a relief to be able to get her out and get her on her way.
In my language, I said, today is a good day. You're going to go home. This is your land. You're free to roam. And it's an honor to know you and to be part of your life today and helping you with that release. And that from here on, just live a good life.
The one thing I noticed, he wasn't wearing gloves,
No.
but the eagle just felt so content in his arms.
Content and calm, and
it was beautiful. Love seeing that.
She looked really happy to fly away into the wild.
Fly away and live her life.
Yes, exactly.
We hope you stay warm, you stay dry this evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
See ya.